All right. Good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast. Good afternoon also to those of you on the West Coast. Welcome to This Week in Pop Culture, the show in which we give you the goings on in the past week in the world of pop culture, whether we're talking about local news, film and TV news, sports news, tech news, you name it. We try to do our best to cover it for you of what happened in the past said week. I'm your host of Brandon Troy, co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. And as always, I'm not going to be alone in talking about said topics. We'll have Spills joining us momentarily. There was quite a few things that happened in this past week, chief of which being the Washington Auto Show, which we will dive into since it has commenced as of this weekend. But if unless you've been living under a rock, you'll know that there are a couple of other things that have gone down in the past week as well. Whether we're talking about film and TV related news or even some local news for those in the DC metropolitan area or just on this end of the US in terms of our weather. So uh, we will definitely dive into that. So, with that, I wanted to be able to dive into our first story. But before we do that, I want to give you guys a reminder that if you are joining us live, first off, thank you. Really do appreciate it if you are indeed joining us live. But if you aren't, we will make an effort to make the necessary adjustments or the timestamps where necessary. So that way you can skip forward or backwards to your heart's content of the said stories that we cover this week. So with that, I want to be able to get into our first story. So I'm gonna bring that up now, and this is in our film and TV talk. So yes, as I said, starting to this week's show with our film and TV talk, Thursday saw the Academy announce the nominees for the 2026 edition of Hollywood's Biggest Night. That, of course, being the Oscars, featuring Daniel Brooks as well as Lewis Pullman as the announcement host. The results provided were astonishing to say the least. We had Sinners lead all of the 2026 nominations that were announced with a record breaking 16 nominations, including Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Original Screenplay. We had one battle after another, which followed with 13 nominations. We had Frankenstein, Marty Supreme, and Sentimental Value come in with nine apiece, nine nominations apiece, respectively. All five of those films mentioned are all up for Best Picture, along with F1, Hamnet, The Secret Agent, Train Dreams, and Begonia. Among the studios, Warner Brothers received the most nominations with 30, followed by Neon with 18 and Netflix with 16 nominations. However, among all of these films mentioned and the respective nominations to the artists involved, there were some noticeably absent nominations, which I guess you would be able to consider as snubs based on what we've seen thus far in the awards season. In that, Wicked for Good received no nominations, and one other thing that is unique this year is that the Oscars added a new category. The first since Best Animated Feature was introduced in 2002. Uh, and that new category is Best Casting. Another thing that is of note as well is that the Academy has made it harder for members to vote in categories in which they have not watched all the nominees. So this year they have tracking viewing via the members only Academy Screening Room app. And for the films seen elsewhere, like at screenings and film festivals, members had to fill out a form noting when and where they watched a film. The 2026 Oscars, hosted by Conan O'Brien for the second year in a row, are set to air live on ABC and Hulu from the Dolby Theater in Los Angeles on Sunday, March 15th, starting at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And of course, with us, that would be 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time for those of us here on the East Coast. As I mentioned a moment ago, Spills will be joining us momentarily because I do want to get his thoughts on this said story. But since we are, still awaiting him, I'll dive into it and just, talk about what my thoughts are of what was announced. I don't feel like there were really a lot of shockers here. I guess the only thing that I am happy to see is that Sinners was provided the amount of recognition that it's received at this award show, because I feel like at some of the prior shows that have preceded this upcoming Oscars haven't. I mean, while they have recognized some components of Sinners, I feel like far more nominations were due. So I'm happy to see that the Oscars has recognized a lot of those said distinctions when it comes to this film. And even with some of the other films too, happy to see the recognition that we're seeing among some of the other films. I'll give you an example. I love to see the recognition that Frankenstein has received. I know a lot of times when we're talking about a lot of genre-related stuff, historically, we haven't really seen enough just due given to certain films, because I feel like there is a certain bias against genre films. And don't get me wrong, within the last couple of years, we've seen a change in that trend. And that's thanks to a lot of artists such as Guillermo del Toro, who is an outstanding director. And because of his pedigree with the horror genre, for example, he has been able to, with the vision that he has had with his prior projects, has been able to make that leap into into the Oscar space with that genre. Because as I said, when we're talking about a lot of other films that are terrific films, I feel like a lot of times there has been some bias there when it comes to being able to recognize all the films as a whole. And every once in a while, we'll have some misnomers there. We'll have some unique instances where maybe one component or a couple of components of a film, are recognized. When I'm thinking of genre films, I'm thinking of superhero films. We've had instances where certain performances have been recognized. Maybe the effects have been recognized, but in terms of a wide-standing recognition of many of the different components and artists that are involved in the said film, I feel like there haven't really been a lot of instances where we've seen that. The only thing that I can think of offhand where we had something that is genre related, that is in the horror space or the fantasy space, where there had been a wide spectrum of categories that were nominated under that one film, would be with Return of the King, that I can think of offhand, where we're talking about something that's genre related, something that's horror, fantasy, a comic book, in those particular realms, and having so many nominations under that said film. Looking forward, to the show. Conan O'Brien is always entertaining when it comes to award shows, and I'm looking forward to what he has prepared in terms of the antics that I'm sure he has in store for audiences when it comes to that show. And then also speaking on some of the categories, as I said, there's a new category that has been added for this year, and that is the casting category. Looking forward to seeing what that looks like. I know very soon we'll also have a what is it, a stunt category that will be, added to the Oscars, which I feel is long overdue. That is a distinction, a part of the filmmaking process that I feel doesn't get enough just due in terms of its importance when we're talking about our film going experience and what it brings to the table as an art. So happy to see, like I said, the casting category be added. Uh, Looking forward to seeing what that looks like when we finally see it, televised. And yeah, let me know your thoughts. Are there any particular films for those of you out there that you didn't have hear their name called when we had the announcement on Thursday? That you are shocked that didn't get the nod? You can let me know in the comments. But with that, I'm gonna move on to our next story. One moment. But yeah, let us know in the comments or what your thoughts are on what was announced for nominees with the upcoming Oscars, because I would like to know, for those of you out there, what your thoughts are on those particular nominees. So next up, we're going to get into some local news with some local news talk. And switch gears here for a second. And I'm sure this actually has something to do, since we are dealing with the live show, has something to do with my co-host as well, because I know there's a lot that's going on that people are contending with this weekend, and that's of course with the snowstorm that is taking our area, the DC metropolitan area, by storm. It was reported by Fox 5 on Friday that states of emergency have been issued by a number of political figures, whether we're talking about DC Mayor Muriel Bowser or Maryland Governor Wes Moore, respectively, due to a major winter storm that was scheduled to occur today. Well, D-Day is here, and it was well warranted, as many areas are under the onslaught of the winter storm that is taking much of the area by storm, pun intended. I know there have been numerous examples, which I'm sure is the case for many of you here in the DC metropolitan area, of folks sending pictures of the amount of snow that they have received, or even giving an indication of what the grocery stores have looked like prior to today, in preparation for the storm. So I love to know what it looks like for you guys. Feel free in the comments if you guys want to give a peek at some of the some of the weather that you're experiencing in your respective area. I'm curious to know. I know it's kind of been sporadic all over the place, whether it's been in terms of the snow that's falling, or the ice that we have on the surfaces, the walking surfaces that many of us have. But I mean, if we are in a state of emergency, I'm sure many of you have not stepped foot outside. I know a couple of friends of mine have, posted that they have given up on trying to shovel up any of the snow, because they're not able to keep up with the snow that is falling. So I'm as I said, curious to know, for those of you out there, how this day has gone so far, in terms of the snow that you receive, perhaps the amount of snow that you receive, what those garages, or not garages, but driveways look like. Have you guys had a easier time than others of being able to clear your driveway, or or are you just waiting for the onslaught to conclude before you decide to journey outside? You can let me know in the comments what that looks like. And as I said, curious to know what some of those driveways look like. Perhaps what some of the roads look like for some of you guys. Feel free in the comments to give an indication of what those look like for you. And as I said, like I said, I do have our co-host joining us, but I'm assuming, with everything that is going on, because he is also in the DC metropolitan area, that a lot of what has transpired today can be attributed to that. Because as I said, everyone was notified of the huge storm that we were receiving, but I mean, you can't truly know, right, of what you're dealing with until it actually comes. So hopefully we're able to get him here joining us before we wrap up today. But if not, is what it is. It is a live show. Happens sometimes. Things happen. So let us know in the comments how you guys are faring during this snowstorm. And now I'm going to hop over to the main component of our show, or the main topic of our show. So let me see if I can bring that up. So if you had a chance to take a look at the title that you have here, you'll know that the main topic that we would be discussing today is the Washington Auto Show. It commenced officially as of Friday. However, for those that are covering the show, you were afforded the opportunity to go on Thursday, because if you're not aware, the Washington Auto Show is a public policy show. And if you're unaware of what that is, in essence, in terms of it being considered a public policy show, we have officials in government, in industry, and in the media converging to be able to discuss the state of the automotive industry. Outside of that, with the show starting officially yesterday on Friday, the 23rd, it is set to conclude on February 1st. Now, I know we were just talking about the snowstorm that has taken our area by storm. They've already sent a notification out to folks regarding the state of the show. They've already notified folks that the show would be closed for today. But I mean, seeing that it is a 10-day show, there's plenty of time, for folks to be able to check out that said show. I was there yesterday. It was crowded yesterday. I'm guessing perhaps some folks wanted to be able to get a visit to the show before they knew the impending onslaught of the winter storm that was coming. So hopefully you guys, for some of you out there, that you did have a chance to go on either Friday or Saturday and were able to see all the things that you wanted to see. But as I said, it is a 10-day show. So people will have an opportunity to attend the show within that span. I mean, you would assume we'll of course, we'll still see how that turns out, considering the state of where the storm is now versus where it may be for the rest of this week. But the assumption being that that things will, peter out and chill out as we get later on into the week, or further into the week. And speaking about the show, I just want to give you guys a heads up that we do have a couple of things that are already available to you guys in regards to their show. We had a chance to, myself and a colleague of mine had a chance to speak to the president and CEO of the show. So shout out to John O'Donnell, and talking about some of the features that are available to attendees this past, or say this year. I had an opportunity to speak to Mr. O'Donnell last year. However, what made it unique this year is that last year I had spoken with him towards the tail end of the show. And on this go around, I was able to speak to him a little earlier. So a lot of times that kind of changes the dynamic of what the not necessarily what the expectations are, but what the preparations are. You know, things are a little different, obviously, when you are wrapping up the show versus trying to get the show up and running. And it was nice to be able to, steal some time with him to be able to talk about some of those things that they really tried to make a focus with this year. I know a couple of things that they've talked about is having a couple of new exhibitors. One of them being Harley Davidson. But another thing that they have seemed to up the ante on are a lot of the experiences that you're able to have with some of the said vehicles from some of the said brands. I know there were only a couple. It only felt like there were a couple of instances of that last year, but it feels like they've really doubled down on being able to provide more of those experiences this year. So I'm curious to see what that's going to look like now that we had this, that we're in the middle of this storm. You know, are they going to adjust that those opportunities just for the sake of the safety of the attendees, and also ensuring ensuring that the cars themselves don't get damaged? I don't know. We'll see what that looks like. I'm sure it's an ongoing thing that they're probably, even as we speak, trying to figure out whether it's the show or the brands themselves, or maybe a combination of both of them trying to collaborate together, figuring out some solutions on providing these experiences, because some of these experiences are outside. How that's going to work with dealing with the weather that we have, because even as things start to peter out or start to relax, when we're talking about the onslaught of snow that we're receiving, the roads are still not going to be completely in the condition that it needs to be for people to be able to drive safely. So I will be curious to see what that looks like going forward, with us now being at the beginning of the storm, just like we were at the beginning of the auto show, and how that's going to look like going forward. But let me know in the comments, have you guys had an opportunity to go to the auto show? Have there been certain things that you guys have been that you've enjoyed, if you have in fact gone to the auto show? And if you haven't gone this year, be sure to share with us if there's a reason why why perhaps you haven't had an opportunity to go yet, or if you're not planning on going at all, let us know that too, because I will be curious on knowing that, because I know that there have been some instances where we have folks that I have chatted with, whether it's been family or friends, where they were auto show regulars when it comes to the DC auto show, and for whatever reason, they've kind of faltered off in terms of continuing that trend of continuing to go to that show. And it could be a multitude of things. Maybe it's because, and you can let me know, confirm this if I'm right about this, of the time of year. Maybe the time of year no longer works. Maybe it's just a life change that's happened that's made it more difficult for you to go to the show. I'm curious to know all those things. So with that, I am going to wrap it up here. We'll have Spillman join us next week. But I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you guys are being safe here in the weather that we find ourselves in with this major winter storm. I'm your host, Brandon Choi, co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. You can find me at Brandon Choi ENT on X, and then Brandon Choi _ENT on Instagram. And with that, be safe out there. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Later.